Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, TSN 1050 up on TSN 4, your home smart speaker. Gerry's percentages later in the hour. And my understanding is Gerry's got some spicy takes on Spicy P, right? The end of a great nicknames era here in Toronto. Spicy P, as Pascal Siakam got traded this afternoon.
What does he get as far as number, statue?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think he's not a retired number caliber guy.
You know what he deserves?
Secondary scar.
Okay.
Secondary scar.
How about this? Will you agree with this? Ring of Honor. Not even Ring of Honor?
I mean, they don't really do that, I guess, with the Raps, but I guess he's definitely one of the 10 greatest Raptors ever. I think you can make a case for top 5 because, you're going to have Lowry in that. You probably have DeMar. You can have Vince. That's very polarizing, but people are going to have him there. Kawhi, even though it was only a year. And then it's like Chris Bosh, Pascal Siakam. Where do you stand? And I'd give it to Siakam because he was here when they were winning, and he won a championship and he played a big role in that. And he didn't want to leave. Bosh couldn't wait to get out. He went to Miami. The rest is history. Bosh, a better player. Yeah, Van Vliet, that's a good question. That's probably a better question. Van Vliet or Siakam? Like, who would you put in that category? I'd give it to Pascal, I think. But both were great in the final. Both played a huge role in them winning a championship. The transition from Lowry and Kawhi leaving, it was their ship, and they were pretty good for a couple of years.
I think you said it best, Hayes, where it's like, this is just like 10 years from now, bring them all back and do it properly and enjoy the moment and celebrate the guys, because you don't do that stuff. You don't retire jerseys and a Ring of Honor, so just honor the team.
I think that's
as much as you can, man.
I think that's something that should happen. They won a championship. Like that may never happen again, or if it's going to happen again, who knows when it will. And whether it's the 10th anniversary, you don't want to get too far down the road. You don't want to get the 25th anniversary and start doing that kind of stuff. I think the 10th
wheeling guys out.
Yeah, well, exactly. And the fans, older fans, younger fans, who knows who's going to be able to experience. The further it gets away from success, you forget about it, right? You can talk to Blue Jay fans about that. 92, 93 were incredibly special. It was 30 years ago. So I would say maybe it's the 5th anniversary, the 10th anniversary. Do something down there, like whether it's a statue of the starting 5, the team, something, because they should be immortalized. That 2019 championship team, and Nick Nurse should be a part of that. Masai.
I think a starting 5 statue with all of them in the statue would be awesome.
Where are you putting all of these statues?
I don't know. I just think it would be cool.
You try and walk around Scotiabank, you're just running into statues and rings of honor and people.
You can put it somewhere. There's some real estate down there.
Why not? There's so much construction
indoors,
downtown anyway. Just add it.
How about a plaque? How about a hall with plaque? A hall with plaques.
A hall with some plaques in it?
Exactly.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
It's statues a hall with some
plaques in there. It's a hall with some plaques in there. What a disrespectful comment.
That's an ignorant comment.
That actually is one of the. That's probably
bad.
a King.
That's bad.
Like King Daddy Topper.
Yeah,
I really think.
I got caught up in the moment there talking about the Hall of Fame, and I was trying to make the comment. I was talking about the sanctimonious voters, right, and how they don't put Barry Bonds. We're talking baseball.
Yeah.
And
Jeter.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make was the career is we saw it. We witnessed it. Like you can't take that away. It's like taking a Heisman away from Reggie Bush. We saw him do what he did. I don't care if he doesn't have the trophy anymore. He won the Heisman, right? And I guess that's what I meant. Whether he's in the Hall of Fame or not, the Hall of Fame is literally there's a room with some plaques in there.
It's a hall with some plaques in there.
But the players created, right? Their magic, their history, their performance, their production. I don't know. Why am I sticking up for Barry Bonds? I don't really know. But anyway, all right, Struddy's coming up here in a moment. Josh Lewinberg later this afternoon. Raptors Heat tonight. More on the Siakam deal, whether or not Masai got what he was looking for, where they go from here, how tough it's going to be in terms of them trying to get back to a competitive team. Are they a year away from that? 2, 5? What are we talking about here with the Raptors? So more on that later this afternoon. But the Oilers won their 11th straight last night, and it happened to be against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who lost their 4th straight and their 3rd straight in regulation, something they haven't done in a couple of years.
Been a while.
Yeah, like that. It speaks to the success they've had during the regular season that they haven't lost 3 in a row in regulation in quite some time. But it's not only losing 3 in reg. It's that you were up 3-0 against Colorado, 2-1 going into the third against Detroit, and 2-0 against Edmonton last night. Like, you had multi-goal leads in 3 of the last 4 games, and you lost all of them. Like, that's really tough to accept, man. They got 1 point in the last 4 games, and they had leads in all 4 games.
Yeah, the Islander one, I forgot. That was
they're up 3-1 in that game.
You know what they need, guys? They need a balding, lanky, angry defenseman back there. Yes. You know what I mean? Like a guy that's rangy with a skullet and he's got an attitude.
Yes, he can fight. He's
like
got
Spangler Cup experience back there.
Wow. Silver medal. Yeah, maybe
I never thought of that.
Spangler.
The idea of a Spangler Cup voice in the room, I think, could go a long way right now.
A follically challenged leader is what they need.
Let's head to Edmonton. The host of the Got Your Back podcast, one of our favorites, Jason Strudwick, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. How are we feeling, Struddy?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I give you guys credit. I didn't think you were going to have me on today. I thought I'd be preempted by maybe the Siakam trade or O-Dogs Fantasy Football League or something.
Dude, let me hang on a second.
A lot of guts.
What does the guy from Sarnia with a gold chain have anything to do with our show?
Well, I thought that was your centerman when you played in Sarnia. There was a guy named Mel, and he liked to be called Melly, and he wore a gold chain. That's who gave you your first gold chain. I thought you said that one time.
No, you idiot. That is not the case. I did not. First of all, I played in Guelph, and I did not play in Sarnia, and I never played with a Melly.
It's not a big difference. If you know the two towns, there's a lot of similarities.
Well, that's crazy. I'm sorry I was so rude. It's like comparing New York and Red Deer.
A lot of culture in Guelph. Don't forget that. Spread the word.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Is it burning?
Yeah. What do you make? I mean,
who's been traded?
You saw it up close and personal. We'll get to the Oilers in a moment.
What's your assessment,
what do you think of the Leafs? Go ahead.
Well, I think that the problem, and I've been saying, so I'm not changing my song here. It's the same. I'm just singing it a little bit better. Is that they do not have the requisite D-men that are needed to compete. You know, you put Riley out there with whomever, and they can kind of hang on. Then after that, who is it? Who are the guys you're putting out there to go up against the second line or third line, or a third line that's really buzzing? And they don't have that. So the problem isn't in the players. And I don't look at the coach either. I look at the current management, and the previous group. They have never meaningfully upgraded these D to get where they need to. I know they had Muzzin, and they're hoping maybe Klimberg would turn out. But TJ Brody's out here fighting for his life. You know, I think he was a third minutes. What is he, 21 minutes last night? He should not be, he should be under 20. I think Jay McCabe should probably be under 20 as well. Riley is fine where he's at. So that's 2 guys that need to insert there that play north of 20. Then that pushes everyone down. Gio Daniel, I think he was what, maybe 12, 13. He's at the stage in his career where he can't play 2025. Lindgren, the young guy, he's not the stage of his career where he's ready to take that on either. And then you've got the guy out of Anaheim that is just kind of trying to hang on.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Like, so don't, I saw on Twitter, TJ Brody's was just in flames. It was unbelievable how much he was getting torched. But it's not his fault. He's being asked to do too much. They need to help. They need to support him and put him somewhere where he can have more success. Yeah.
I mean, he's been getting torched, and you're right. I mean, listen, he's had a really good career, TJ Brody. A great, he's in the 5th year of a 5-year deal. The first 4 years, he gave them a lot of value, and he's paired well with Riley. He's hit a wall. He's lost a step. His hands have lost a bit, and Riley can be a wild card. That pairing last night got beat up. And then to your point, once you get beyond that, you're relying on Simone Benoit and Timothy Liljegren, and it's tough. It's tough sledding.
And Struddy, I'm not sure if you know this, but they have $7 available to go and get a defenseman, so that's also an issue. I love the way you're talking about everyone being slotted differently. Who do you recommend that the Leafs go out and get with no money?
Well, that's the problem, right? And that's the same thing that a lot of teams face. And so you got to find guys, draft them, and develop them, try to come in and help you and get you going. But you're right. I mean, it's going to probably have to be dollar in, dollar out type of situation. But isn't there some money with Klingberg? What's his money tied up at right now?
Well, it's long-term IR. That is available to them, but that's the problem. The time to do that was spend it differently on July 1st, and they chose not to do that. They gave the money to Klingberg. They gave the money to Reeves, not that much, but neither guys are part of the program anymore. And Domi and Bertuzzi, they got a lot of money, and those two have been okay, but they haven't been great. And they're depth pieces, So, yeah, that I think is an accurate assessment, Struddy. That's what a lot of people are saying here. I think the three of us have said the same thing. The defense score isn't good enough. But I don't think they're going to address that between now and the deadline. They might pick up a piece or two, but you're not going to get like two stud top four defensemen. That's not going to happen. It's not a reality.
Even one would help to stabilize a pairing. You need to stabilize. It's just. Because I feel like after Riley goes off the ice, it's really difficult. There's momentum, and they're going after. I'm not saying it's going to make them instant Stanley Cup champions, but at least stabilize that second and third pairing. Because right now, I don't think there's much stabilizing. Do you think that any top players, whether it's McKinnon or Bo Horvat or whoever, McDavid, do you think they look and say, "Oh my God, Timothy Lindgren's out there. I better change."
No, his name is Liljegren, you idiot. You called him Lindgren, and I don't know what you just said there.
There was another. We got to go back to the pronunciation of Giordano, too. There was Gerry Danny, or I don't even know what.
Gerry Denny from Sarnia.
Gerry Donahue.
But you know what? The climb of that point, Struddy, like, you take a look at the teams that might have players available, like, for example, all you talked about to the insiders is like, well, Calgary's holding the market up. Well, Calgary's got 47 points. They're on the cusp of being in a playoff spot. I don't think they're in a hurry to start moving some of those guys. Like, I think managers are trying to make moves, but unless you're trying to pick the carcass of San Jose, who else is out there? That's the biggest challenge, because you might covet somebody and the manager goes, yeah, call me at the end of February. When we start to dig in on it, or we have our pro scout meetings, or we're going to do this. I think that's the biggest challenge is if moves are to be made, you might not be able to do it because you might not have a dance partner, or they might be asking way too much for that particular player.
Well, it's a good year to be a seller. You look at the situation, there's not a ton of teams that's really valuable. And you look at D-men, there's not a ton. And, Calgary has a couple that are going to be UFAs, and I like the looks of those guys. I think that they can help the team. But in the meantime, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you've got two teams that are chasing you, Tampa and Detroit, that are right there with you. And, Toronto's on a lock to get that third spot. And if you fall out of that third spot, now you're up you're fighting everyone for a wild card spot. And that can get a little scary for that group. So I get it. Like, dog, I understand what you're saying. There's not a lot of options out there. But if you want to be a team that truly wants to push into the playoffs and make some noise, you need to have that. You need to make that move, and you have to do it in a meaningful way. Now, the problem is, are you trading for rentals, and you're trading away whether it's young talent or, in this case, most likely draft picks, and then you're suffering a few years down the road because you don't have those players coming in, filling your spots in your lineup that are cheap and young and can be effective. You look here at Edmonton, and not that they're the case study, but Vinny Darnay, he's come in and he's asserted himself as a third pairing defense and playing really well. He's not fun to play against. His stick handling and puck movements improved a ton. Him and Kulak, for fairly reasonable price, have solidified the third pairing in Edmonton. But that was a 7th round pick. And I know it's not a first, but you got to hit on some of those to find value.
Struddy, how far do you think the Oilers can crawl from where they were? I mean, we talked when it was the darkest of dark times for that team. Like, where do you see them taking this? Like, they're on fire. Obviously, they have to avoid another slip where they go on a skid, but, like, where do you see them going as far as where they can take this?
Yeah, you guys are real gentlemen. When the team was at the lowest, that's when you were throwing me an anvil to say hello and to have me on the show. So I remember those days well. But no, you know what? This group, I think what happened is when you start like that, you're so scared of it feeling that way again that you're willing to do whatever the coach asks you to do. And Knoblauch, I don't think he's made massive changes, but this group is now paying great attention to their defensive play. Now, last night I didn't think was as good as what we've seen in the previous, I don't know, I'll call it, that's just for argument's sake, 20 games. They're not giving up massive chances against, or they, other than last night, as far as bad pinches or, high-risk plays at the blue line. Like last night, King comes over the blue line, tries to make a high-risk play that wasn't there, boom. It comes all the way back and Skinner has to make a save. They've been avoiding that, and that makes such a difference when you're not making those plays. So I think that's something they want to continue to work on. The penalty kills improved a ton. The power play is good. It's not crazy elite, but it's good. So I think, if you're going to win a Stanley Cup or do well in the playoffs, let's just put it there, you have to be able to win in different ways. Some nights your PK is going to get it done. Some nights your power play. Some nights you're going to feel comfortable going into the third 1-1 and winning 2-1, maybe in the second overtime. And then some nights Connor and Leon are going to go off, and you're just going to tear the lid off the thing. So I think they're way more comfortable playing those low-scoring games, and I know that's something they've been focusing on. But now, with that rough start, O-Dog, they're finally understanding how hard it is and how you have to be in those games.
Yeah, it's been incredible watching what's going on with the three Western Canadian teams that are playing well, and even the Flames again are still in it. Like they're in the mix. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they're certainly in the mix. And Winnipeg's been the hottest team in the league, and Vancouver's right there with them, Struddy. And yet, we have these conversations all the time. A lot of people would still pick Edmonton as the best bet because of how they're built, the star power. If Skinner can make stops, and he was great last night, he's been great the last 11 games, if not longer than that. Are you still bullish on Edmonton being, better than Winnipeg and Vancouver, or is it somewhere in the middle? Where do you stand on the battle out west?
The Oilers, kind of like Toronto, they still have some holes to fill. And I think they're counting on a couple things happening, or need a couple things happening. One, Dylan Holloway, who's currently in the minors, needs to come up and be a player in their bottom six. He's got to come in. He's young. If you haven't seen him, he's fast. He's physical, and I think there's offense there that he contribute. Their bottom.
I think he will do that, Struddy. I think he will do that
because he's a little bit small. The bottom six too small. They need some size. The other guy, and it's a player you guys know well, Connor Brown, has not scored yet, and I've been through those droughts before, but I wasn't playing beside Connor McDavid. He's got to find a way to get some goals, and they need him if he can get going because he's doing a good job in the penalty kill. But they need him to score, so that'd be two guys. And then you add, there's the Perry talk. Now, I don't know where Corey Perry's going to end up. I don't know if he will end up on any NHL team. I'm not an insider, but a player like that to get him with no cost, that'd be adding, essentially adding three players to your lineup at no cost, and then you can use your draft capital to fill in a hole, a depth defenseman. I think they have to add another goalie. Not that Calvin Pickard hasn't done well, but I want to have more depth, kind of like Vegas did, and that's maybe a second, not a high. I'm not going for Markstrom, but maybe another backup, a type guy. So you'd have multiple guys to go through if something goes wrong. Because if there's an injury to Skinner, it can get a little scary. Because I'm not sure Campbell's coming back. So I think those are some areas they have to figure out. And then the high thing would be to find a top six forward. I don't know who that guy is, but there's only so much cap room as we started with the Leafs. So you got to figure out where this all pieces together and what you really truly need to do it. But look at Vancouver and Winnipeg. They're both good and they're both pretty deep and very good proven goaltending. Skinner's really playing well, and I think he had a good experience or had a lot of experience going to the playoffs last year. Is he at the same level as Thatcher Demko and Hellebuck there in Winnipeg? That's TBD, but I think he's working that way.
He's not.
Only second year in the NHL. It's his second year.
He's not. I don't think you can expect him to get to Hellebuck levels or Demko levels.
No, but I think if Edmonton could get, this is not a pipe dream, because I think he might be available at some point. Marc-Andre Fleury, I think, would be a very coveted goaltender at the deadline. But, I think there'll be a lineup for him. I think Colorado would look at him. I think New Jersey would look at him. I think L.A. would look at him. Like there's teams that would covet that position. But Edmonton should be in on Fleury if they're not, based on, his pedigree. He's been a safety blanket for starters Matt Murray won 2 cups with Fleury sitting on the bench. Like, he's a guy that's been there, done that, a great ambassador in the dressing room. Like, that would be a guy that I think you circle and go, wish list, that would be a guy that you'd add. And I think the Leafs should be in on
possibly,
it too, realistically.
Yeah. I mean, by all accounts, they've kind of kicked tires on that in the past. Right. We're chatting with Jason Strudwick, and Struddy, you were joking earlier, when the Oilers were losing all those games, we kept asking you to come on. And we kept asking you about, the disposition of McDavid and the commentary from Draisaitl and the media and their interactions. And it got pretty wild out there. Like, they were not happy. And I'm sure you saw what Mitch Marner said after the game last night, what Austin Matthews said, where both of them were trying to put on this kind of positive approach to the way the Leafs are playing, and that they're playing great and they're a great team and it's kind of all good. And I'm curious, like, I'm sure you've been in the room during some tough spells. Like, what do you want to hear from your best players when it's going bad? Do you want to hear them being uber positive? Would you like to hear them take the bull by the horn? Like, what was ideal for Jason Strudwick when you're waiting on a vet, a captain of the team, best player on the team to speak when it's a bit of a rough patch in the season?
The reality is this: is that there's going to be ups and downs in every season. And then that's just clear. Not going to, like, the Oilers on a heater right now. They could lose the next 5 games. That's the way that sports is. We don't win every game. And when things aren't going badly, I always liked it when the coach would stand in front of us and kind of take some bullets for us. And then when our top players would just say, "Hey, we got to be better." Right? With this is what I'm seeing. We got to clean this up. We're working towards it. We're going to do it, and just kind of be honest. Right? And I'm not suggesting that Mitch or Austin weren't being honest last night, but I just wanted to tell the truth. We're not playing our best. It's A, B, or C isn't working right now. We're working towards it, and you're going to pull yourself out of it because they're not going to keep getting leads and losing leads. It's not going to happen. It's just eventually you're going to find your way back towards winning. They're a really skilled team, and they're I give the team a hard time. Well, more the fans of the team, but I love watching them play. That first goal they scored last night, that was a thing of beauty between Marner and Austin Matthews. That was a beautiful goal. And Bouchard kind of got caught, not ready for that play, and that was a great play. So they're fun to watch. They're going to make the playoffs. But I think when you're in a bad spot, I always liked when the top guys kind of just came out and just said what the truth was. Just say this is what's happening. We're going to get better. And the coach stands in front of those guys, and then eventually get playing again, and then everyone forgets it, and you're a hero again.
Yeah. There you go, Struddy. I like it. Wise words of wisdom. Well, it's 11 in a row out in Edmonton, and look at this. We had you on, and
those were Spengler Cup type words of wisdom.
That's leadership words, and I do remember. I thought
wore an A at the Spengler too, didn't you?
What's that?
Did you wear an A at the Spengler Cup?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think it was West. Who was West Walls? Maybe the center or the captain.
Yeah, Walls. Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if I had to see if we could have got over the top. Anyways, I don't want to blame him.
Before we get you out of here too, I have you taken up like maybe a hobby? Do you want to speak to like what the hell did I see on my group chat the other day?
Yeah, so
let's hear it.
Well, I called, but so I decided I want to do some self-improvement. So there's some things I'm doing that are, changing, but I decided I was going to take up knitting. So I've been knitting this scarf. I've been knitting a scarf 20 minutes a day. And it's actually pretty nice. Like I don't know if it's going to be wearable, but it's pretty nice.
Dude, can you make me and Noodles and Hay? Can you make us 3 a scarf, please?
Yeah, a Serge Lenny Kravitz scarf.
A Leaf logo scarf, please.
It's going to end up a car cover. I don't know what it's going to be. It'll be weird shaped.
Wow, Struddy.
Dog bed.
I love it.
Yeah.
Knitting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I saw my mom and my grandma used to knit lots. I'm like, I'm going to try it. And so I've tried it. And, it's funny. You really get in the rhythm. So I'll have a game on. I'm just knitting away. And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm knitting.
I need video of that. I need to see the final product. I have to see it. Wow, that is therapeutic.
The video. He has it.
I have the video. I didn't want to share it over social because I was like, what am I looking at here? Like,
oh, man. We need
Struddy
the whole thing.
Struddy, do we have permission to play it on the show or not?
I don't know.
It's no problem. It's no problem, guys. I don't want to brag. I'm up to about 16 stitches every 3 minutes. And I don't know if that's fast or
I have
not,
no
but
idea.
I started about 1.
Good for you, Struddy. Look at you, man. That's self-improvement. Like you said, it's very therapeutic. It's better than looking at your phone probably the whole game. You might as well sit there and knit. I like it.
That's right. I'm knitting. I don't have to look anywhere, but it's not that fast. And I'm not going to say it's uncool, but I felt I had to try something new. So that was
I can't wait until
I'll send you guys a picture to finish.
Please do. And make sure you send a video of your kids when you try to get one of them to wear it to school one day and see the reaction, because I cannot wait for that.
No.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, but you can show the video, because I think it is flattering of me, and I'm just sitting there wheeling and dealing on my pink needles.
Okay. Beautiful. There you go. Struddy, the knitter, the knitting Spengler Cup. Should have been captain.
Champion. Should have been captain.
Silver medalist because he wasn't the captain. We love it. All right, Struddy. Well, keep basking in it, man. 11 in a row. You're on to a new page in your life here. You're knitting scarves and toques and everything. It's freezing cold in Edmonton, and yet everyth's all good. So enjoy it, buddy, and we'll do it again soon.
I'm going to be the knitting what Bob Ross is to painting.
Trend setting. I love it. Thank you, Struddy.
See you, buddy.
Jason Strudwick joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com.
Yeah,
I did not expect to see that.
Well, I mean, you imagine my surprise. I'm in a group chat with his wife, my wife. We're all in there, and this video pops up, and I think there's some language in there we might have to edit, but it's like, what is going on here?
I thought he was going to say, like, hiking, Peloton.
Yeah, reading a book a week or something, Knitting.
Off the top turnbuckle with knitting?
You could have given me a million guesses. And
I never.
Knitting would never. I can't imagine, like, how many people knit anymore?
I don't know. I think it's an acquired.
In his kind of area code, like a 48-year-old man.
Right.
Knitting?
If you ever see the size of his hands, they're like 5 bananas. Like they're huge. He's got huge hands, and he's working these needles. It's just something to watch.
Okay.
I'll put it in the group chat here.
We'll
see how it unfolds.
All right, Struddy, I love it. Knitting up a storm out there. The Oilers are winning. The Leafs are back in action in Calgary tomorrow night. More on that later this afternoon. Gerry's percentages next. All right, Gerry's percentages coming up here in just a moment. Lots of times when, we're in the profession we're in, people ask, almost in an incredulous way, like, wait a minute, you guys just talk for 3 hours? Like, what do you talk about? Do you talk about sports? Do you have fun? Are you critical? Are you opinionated? Do you interview people? What else do you do? How do you prepare? I get questions like that all the time, and rarely do we get questions about breaking down videos of a giant human being knitting a scarf. But we have the video. Do you guys want to see? There it is. Look at Struddy on TSN4.
Look at the sausage fingers.
I told you, this guy's hands are like bananas.
That is off the glass and out form.
That is exactly right. That is off the glass, high and hard, dump and change, hacking in front of the net.
Oh, yeah.
What a legend knitting, man. I never thought I'd see the day. That's amazing. That looks very good to me. I mean, my grandmother used to knit, and she would knit like you. She was a machine.
Blankets and stuff.
Oh,
like
everything.
We used to get, my Nana did the same thing. She'd make different colorful blankets, and you'd get one, and they were great. If you wanted a couch, you could lay on the couch and watch TV all day with a blanket, but I don't know.
Next year, my mom will make you guys some slippers.
Does she knit? Well, your mom still knits, or does she sew? Does she get the wheel pedal, the pedal
she
going?
Will knit you guys some slippers.
Okay, I love it. Hook it up. Hook it up.
See, I think knitting is a lost art. Like people, I don't know people who do it. Like that's the first time. Like I think it's that generation is gone.
Yeah.
Of people who knit.
Exactly. It's like sewing, the same thing. Like, yeah, well, just sew that thing up. My wife can sew. I give her credit. Like, she gets in there, she does her thing. There's a rip in the kid's pants or something. She'll be like, give me an hour, I'll figure this out, or less than that. But knitting, you're right. Cursive, writing in cursive, right?
Well, kids don't know how to. You don't know how to
no
write.
idea, man. As long as you got a keyboard in front of you, that's all that matters anymore.
Exactly.
It's like you're not writing letters. That's not going to happen. You'll send a text.
Yeah.
You'll send an emoji. Anyway. All right, Darren Dreger in about a half an hour. Josh Lewinberg on the Pascal Siakam trade. That's coming up in about an hour. You guys ready for Jerry's?
Let's go.
Ready.
You're going to want to hear this.
Jerry's percentages.
I don't love being commissioner as much as I used to. I actually love it even more.
That's the voice of a Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? Have you been out drinking?
You're all pigeons. Filthy, filthy pigeons.
It's Gerry. Gerry.
All right, Jerry's percentages brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at Boston Pizza, get delicious mouth-watering pastas starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at the prices you just can't miss. Hustle into your local BP tonight. Let's hear from Gerry.
Jerry's the most conflicted man in sports right now. Because I love watching the Leafs and Sens have meltdowns, but those sneaky bastards in Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Vancouver, they're keeping me up at night. Gerry can't do a cup final in Winnipeg. No way, no how.
Yes.
Why not, Gerry?
Yeah, Gerry,
they were in
why
a
not?
conference final a couple years ago.
Yeah, Winnipeg in June is beautiful.
It is.
It's beautiful. The lakes are there, the rivers, mosquitoes are awful by all accounts.
Little tough,
but don't be a hater on Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver. It's all good. All right, let's get to the takes.
Jerry's always been a Siakam super fan. But I guess it's time to go all in on Scotty Barnes, who will become the Raptors' all-time greatest player. I'm not sure about that. Kate Burness calls Kyle Lowry the GOAT.
Yeah, she does.
Greatest Raptor of all time.
Yeah, KB, she does generally say, she'll be saying that a lot tonight, I'm sure, right? You got Kyle Lowry in town tonight. But what are the chances? What's the Jerry's on Scotty becoming the GOAT?
I'm going to go 39%. And I'm not that type of guy to go 39%. But I don't know. Last year kind of gave me some weird vibes, and I just don't think it's a slam dunk that this guy becomes the guy that they want him to be. Nothing's a slam dunk unless,
not.
Yeah. I mean, Wembanyama, I don't even know, what does that translate into him winning championships? I don't know, man. I don't know, but Scotty Barnes, I give him a 39%. I think that's actually high.
Yeah, I think it is. I was going to say the same thing. Yep.
I'm lower on it because I think if he becomes a really good player and they bring somebody else in to try and win a championship, it might be that guy that they bring in that puts him over the top.
Well,
I don't know who that player is.
Right.
Well,
could be.
Right. But I
right,
just I think that I'm looking just him alone. Maybe it's just recency bias. Yes, he's been great, but last year kind of same thing. Kind of was a weird year for him. I'm 12%.
Yeah, and I think you got to also brace for what the future is going to hold here for the Raptors. You need help from your teammates and the organization to put yourself in that position, right?
Right.
And right now, he's going to sign likely a 5-year deal this summer, and let's assume he stays for the full 5. That'll be 8 years. Do I see them winning a championship between now and the end of the 5-year deal? Not really. Anything can happen in pro sports. It's not going to happen this year. It won't happen next year. The year after that, I guess, is when the clock starts ticking. But you got to win a championship probably to pass Kyle, to pass Kawhi. There are a lot of Raptors fans who simply they have made up their mind. Kawhi, nothing can touch it. It was a 1-year deal. Yes, he left, but the guy was unbelievable. He was incredible in the playoffs, and they won a title because he showed up. So I'll go in between. I'll say there's a 25% chance. He's a great young player. He won Rookie of the Year, but he's not the first one to do it. Damon Stoudemire did that.
Yeah.
Vince did that.
Rookie of the Year, man, doesn't
guarantee you anything.
No.
And again, I really like Scotty. He's been great. They're going to build around him, but the team's not very good. And, unless he's here for 15 years or 20 years and it's a Hall of Fame career, that's a different story. Then he will likely hold that moniker. But that's way down the road. And the nature of the NBA suggests that probably won't happen. So I'll say 25%.
Gerry's also having disturbing dreams about my precious award show being overtaken by Canadian teams. The Jack Adams, the Vezina, Norris, all going north of the border. But you know what else? The Hart Trophy.
Ooh, wow. Gerry's saying the Hart is coming from someone on a Canadian team. What's your Gerry's?
The Hart, I think kind of Nathan MacKinnon has a 65% grapple hold on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to start doing math because I'll sound like an idiot. But the Hart Trophy coming north of the border, you know what? It's going to be 55% because I think McDavid has something to say. Don't go back.
55?
No. I changed my mind on the fly. Okay. I wasn't doing math there,
Okay,
Hayes,
all right.
because I saw
fair.
you.
You're
I saw
allowed to.
you.
Yeah. JP and I
think
are
the
trying to figure out the
McDavid
math. Go ahead.
I know. McDavid factor, he could tee off. You saw the determination in his eyes last night.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for that guy the second half. I really believe he's going to have something to say about the Hart.
55%.
Well, the other guy might get 70 goals too, Austin Matthews.
Well, and what about Patterson in Pitt or in Vancouver? That's
kidding.
That's your 3-pack right now.
He's just glossed over Pettersson.
He's been unbelievable, man.
I know.
Yeah.
And his defenseman, Hughes,
Quinn
might
Hughes
get
should
MVP.
be in the chatter. He should be.
Yeah, I'm lower on this because I also think Kucherov is a player there. And, McKinnon, Kucherov could probably be 1-2 right now. Then you throw in the other guys we just talked about, and I'm probably missing somebody else from down south as well. So I think I'm going to play the field on this, and I'm going to say 20%.
Okay.
I'm 20%.
Yeah.
But, you can make an argument for everybody. But right now, laying eyes on this McKinnon last night and the other night, watching him against the league, this guy's
I agree. He's got 70 points right now. Like he's
animal.
I
72.
Think
he got a couple.
72.
He's actually, I think, ahead of Kucherov.
He caught him, actually. I'm looking at they're both at 72. And the thing is with Kucherov is Tampa's not doing what Colorado's doing right now. And Kucherov's got his heart. A lot of it is narrative driven. McKinnon has not won a heart. He's worthy of that. He's one of the great players of this generation. So I think the narrative will keep growing and growing and growing. If he ends up with 135 points and they win the division or something, it'll probably be his to lose. In fact, I would guess he'll win. But Elias Pettersson's been outstanding. JT Miller's been great. JT Miller doesn't get enough love, but I think it would be Pettersson number one on that team. McDavid still has 40 games left or whatever to completely take over the team. Yeah. And if Matthews scores like 68 goals, how can that not be in the running? Exactly. I don't know. The idea that like 66, 67, 68 goals wouldn't win almost seems preposterous.
Yeah,
like it actually,
that guy
it really
up at
does.
Number 3 too. Look who snuck up there, David Pasternak.
Pasta's right there. Yeah, Pasta's right there at 11.25 a year. What a deal! Little discount down there in Boston. I'm going to say 35%. I think 35% chance that it's up here in Canada between McDavid, Matthews, Pettersson. Those are 3 tickets that I think have a lot of value in terms of the Hart race.
Gerry's noticed that Billy Nye, the wrist shot guy, hasn't been racking up the points since the ink has dried. Still convinced he gets at least 110 points this season, though.
110. He's at 57 points. He's got 40 games to go. So using O's math, he needs 53 points in 40 games.
Dude, I told you I changed my mind.
All right.
I wasn't trying to. I already played that game during a Sens game, and Noodles sent me a text saying, "What is with that math you did in the pregame show?" Anyway,
I can't remember.
I heard that. I remember that.
110 points for Willie Nye.
Yep.
I'll look at the positive, and I'll say 65% he gets it done.
Okay.
I know you're higher, Hayes.
I don't know. He needs
lower.
53 points in 40 games. That's what he needs.
I'm lower on that. Like this, the game gets tighter as we go down the stretch. And yes,
okay, but Pasternak, we're going to say he's going to do it. So why are we saying Nylander's
because he's Pasternak and he's done it before. Nylander never has.
Well, there you go.
That's just the That's just a
Listen,
fact. Like that's
we're entitled to our opinion. I mean, I'd like to see him break through the 100-point barrier. That's really
one step at a time.
I'm one step at a time for him. He had 87 points last year, and he's like, well, I went into a slump. Well, yeah, slumps happen to top players. Ask McDavid, ask Matthews. All of these guys have had, some sort of stretches there. 100 points is nothing to sneeze at. Like for me, I that should be the marker for him. And he's had a great season. Yeah, he stubbed his toe recently, but I'm going to say 28%.
Yeah, Pasternak had 113 points last year, and he's tracking for about that. So I would expect he probably will hold on to that pace. Willie, I still think has a shot at 110. Like I think anything less than 100 points would be very disappointing now, considering what he banked, through 35 games. I'll say 49%. I'm just into the minority. I still think it's that's where he's tracking. He's still moving in that direction. I don't think his wheels are going to completely fall off. Power play's still going to rack up points. He's going to be a part of that. But he needs line mates to do it, right? Like that's a big part of this is like John Tavares has got to pull his weight if that's who he's playing with. If he's playing with Tyler Bertuzzi can't have one goal in 24 games, or whatever. You got to get some points 5-on-5. Yeah. And if you're playing with Tavares and Bertuzzi, if that's what the line's going to be, last night I guess it wasn't, Bertuzzi moving down the lineup, but whoever it's going to be, Nyes, Bertuzzi, Domi, Tavares, you got to bank on those guys keeping up too for you to get to that kind of number. So I'll say 49%. All right, we'll come back with a few more. We got a few more Jerrys. We got Darren Dreger coming up in about 20 minutes. Josh Lewinberg on the Siakam deal. OverDrive continues TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Darren Dreger in 15 minutes. Leafs back in action tomorrow night. Sheldon Keefe speaking on what he sees out of his team through 42 games. We'll get back into that clip. We'll revisit the Mitch Marner post-game last night as well. And Josh Lewinberg in about a half an hour, 40 minutes on Pascal Siakam being traded to the Pacers earlier this afternoon. Raptors Heat tonight. Jerry's continued. You guys ready?
Let's go.
One of the 49ers or Ravens will lose this weekend, and I know which one that clown show Hayes is rooting for. By the way, there's word of an Al's brother's suspension for more than a month.
Wow.
Really? Even Jerry's talking about Al's brother's conduct. That's disappointing.
A month suspension.
Well, listen, if he has to pull a Bobby Valentine and put on a fake mustache and sit in his booth and help me pick winners, we can deal with that. All right, one of the Ravens or the Niners, both at home, both the 1 seeds. Ravens playing Houston, Niners playing the Packers. One of them lose this weekend.
8%. I have
Really?
an 8% probability of that happening. I just think they're going to be dummy fests. No offense. So
no, listen, that's the nature of the NFL. That 1 seed is so huge. You get a bye week. You're healthy. You're rested.
And you have been in that building for that exact game, haven't you, where they had their ass handed to them with Rodgers, and they got manhandled.
Yes. And Shanahan is LaFleur's kryptonite. He dummies LaFleur in the playoffs, too. Remember, they were at Lambeau a couple of years ago. They went in there and beat him. Remember, Deebo Samuel had that great second half, and Rodgers was awful in the fourth quarter. 8%. I'm higher than that, though, because these two, C.J. Stroud, there's something magic about that Houston team. And, like, Lamar doesn't have a great playoff history, too. Like, let's not forget, Lamar Jackson does not have a great playoff history. And Brock Purdy in Week 17, I believe it was, when the Niners went in there, was brutal. Like, is there a chance the quarterbacks don't show up for Baltimore or the Niners? I only need one to not show up. I'm going to say 35%. I think there's a chance you could see an upset in one of the 2 games.
You don't
35%.
believe that.
35%.
Wow.
2 seasons from now, both Dak Prescott and Tua Tagovailoa will be starting for their current teams.
Let's throw a percentage in on the previous one, please.
JP just jammed me up. I'm like you, Hayes. I'm believing more in it.
Okay.
I'm going to say 28%.
I love
just
it.
Move on.
Okay. All right. Tua's in Miami in 2 years. Dak is in Dallas in 2 years. What's your Jerry's on that?
I don't have a whole lot of faith in this one, man.
No?
No.
Okay.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, like, similar to another scenario, how long can they keep watching a guy get to a certain point and then just do the same thing over and over again? Regular season hero and absolutely orders a vat of soup, and you know what kind come playoff time. You got to change it. I'm saying there's 0% chance that both of those guys. You're going to have the same answer.
No, I'm
dude.
not. I'm much higher.
Really?
Because
no, I'm 0%.
Okay. Noodles, go ahead.
Mostly because I think the
this.
Cowboys are insane if they keep going to Dak and saying you're our guy.
The same thing applies with Tua, man. The guy, I don't think he can throw downfield. I think you get bad weather, windy. I think he's got a weak arm. He's got injury history.
I know, but I think Dak is in trouble there. Even though he's amazing, I just think they'll change the. I'm 16%.
Okay,
I really do.
All right, I think Dak had a great regular season, and that shouldn't be enough. But in some spots, it is. Right? In Toronto, it is.
You were talking about
Dallas,
him as the MVP, like a serious MVP favorite.
Yes.
Week 14, Week 15, when they beat up on Seattle on the Thursday night, beat up on the Eagles, I was like, this guy's probably going to win the MVP. I'm going to say 85%. 85% that one of them is still, like, that both of them are still there. Because Tua,
side 500, there's just no way.
Done.
Wow.
2 years in the making. 2 years in the making. Jerry's Percentage is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at Boston Pizza, get delicious, mouth-watering pasta starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at the prices you just can't miss. Hustle in your local BP tonight. Final hour coming up. Darren Dreger, Josh Lewinberg, and our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.